Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of biology. And of course, today we're going to be looking at the theories of evolution. Theories of evolution. All right. So in the last class, we did an introduction into evolution. Okay, we saw a lot of things. Okay, a lot of stuffs. Okay, if you have not watched that episode, you have no business here. And do not forget that these tutorials, this episode, they are brought to you by the O3 Schools application. Okay, we have the JAMB app, we have the WAEC app. All right, JAMB is CBT, WAEC is CBT. All right, so you need these applications on your devices so that you can perform effectively and pass your exam at once. All right, if you have made a decision that you don't want to write JAMB twice or write WAEC twice, you know that WAEC is now CBT. Okay, even your NECO is going CBT. All right, so if you want to pass your exam once, please, I beg you, I will kneel down and beg you now, all right? Get this application on your phone. I don't care if you have other apps, okay, but this one, all right, is sure banger for you to succeed, all right? So please ensure you get the app. The app has everything you need to succeed. All the past questions are on the application, okay? Question search feature where you can search for question according to topic. There's a classroom that has latest JAMB syllabus, lecture notes, study plan. You can create a timetable for yourself on the application and finish your syllabus in time. Mock exams every Saturday, all right? And of course, please get the application, get it immediately, all right? And of course, there's an activation fee for the application. Pay for the activation, get your activation and start practicing. The activation fee is less than the price of rice and chicken in a good restaurant. So please do not substitute your future and your success, okay, because of a plate of rice, okay? Because of a price that is not even more worth than a plate of rice, okay? Please get it, make the sacrifice, get the activation, all right, and start studying immediately. To activate your app, message this number on WhatsApp, 09121515246. All right, just message this number on WhatsApp, okay? Or if you make your payments, to activate, just click on activate on the application. All right, at the top you find where the row buy activation key. Click on it. You see by transfer, you see the methods you can use to activate. Click on by transfer, you see the account number for the app, and you see the correct price for the activation. Make your payment, send the receipt of the payment to this number on WhatsApp. You can use any means to pay. You can use what's it called, POS. You can use normal transfer. You can use USSD. Anyway, just message this number on WhatsApp. Once you have paid, you will get your activation. Except you are busy in the studio like this, you get it almost immediately. All right, so let us begin with the theories of evolution. I do not want to waste so much time discussing about the app. Okay, you already know about the app. So now, theories of evolution, we're going to be looking at three of them. One is Lamarckism. Okay, by Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Okay, then number two, we're going to look at what Darwinism. This one, theory of natural selection. Theory of natural selection. Okay, then we're going to look now at the modern synthetic. Okay, theory. Okay, so these are the three theories we are going to look at, okay, in this class. We are going to try and run as fast as possible, okay, but I'll try and be slow so that you get every gist that concerns this. In the last episode, okay, we'll answer questions, okay, a lot of questions on evolution, okay, or we'll dedicate, depending on how long that last episode is, we'll dedicate an episode to answering only past questions, all right, on evolution, all right. So please ensure you to stay put. Okay, so we are going to begin with Lamarckism. Now, before the 18th century, scientists believed, okay, in the fixity of species. Okay, they believed in the fixity of species. Okay, scientists like Aristotle, okay, they believe in this fixity of species. And what is the fixity of species? Fixity of species is an old belief. It's an old belief that all species are or were created exactly the same. We are created exactly the same as they are today, and that they never change, over time. Okay, so this is what the fixity of what of species. All right, so old scientists like Aristotle, they believed in this word fixity of what of species. Okay, they believed so much that all species were created exactly the same way. Okay, they were created exactly as they are today, as you are seeing them now. Okay, and that they never change over time. So irrespective of what time, okay, this what species they will always remain exactly as they were then. Okay, so there was nothing like called variation. Then they knew nothing about variation, knew nothing about mutation, knew nothing about genetics and so on and so forth. All right, so those one they were what old people, people of the old scientists before the 18th century. This was their belief. Okay, so they believe that what that species are fixed. Species are fixed. Okay, that means that what they didn't believe in what in evolution. Okay, species are fixed, and so they didn't have any belief. Okay, about what evolution. Okay, but you may want to ask, why did these people of old believe in this word fixity of what of species? Okay, why would they ever believe, okay, in this word fixity of what of species at all? Okay, it was because they were seeing, they saw what animals give birth to what? To young ones of their kind. They saw plants giving birth to what? Young ones, okay? Of what? I say young ones. They're giving birth to exactly what? The same fruits. Okay? So for example, a cat will what? We give birth to what? We produce what? Another what? Cat. A cat will never produce what? A goat or maybe a monkey. Okay, so a cat will always produce a cat and not a dog. Okay, like a mango tree will always produce what? Mango. Mango tree will not produce orange. Okay, so they saw all of these, and so they had to what? Believe, okay, in what? In this fixity of what? Of species. That what? All species were created exactly as they are today, and that they never change over time. Also, the theory of special creation, okay, special creation, okay, also was supports what? This fixity of what was special, that God created the whole world in 6 days, and then in the 7th day he rested. All right, so God created them in their kinds. Okay, that was where they were. All right, so they will never change. Okay, God has created them like that, and they've never changed over time. So that is what the old belief, known as what the fixity of what was species. So Jean-Baptiste Lamarck was the first person, okay, to give a theory on what? On evolution. All right, in the 18th century. He was the first person to give a theory on what? On evolution. Okay, that is what? Lamarckism. Okay, by what? By Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. All right, that is his name. Okay, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. He was the first person to give what? A theory on evolution. He was a botanist. Okay, he was a botanist, but later he became a zoologist. Okay, so he was initially what? A botanist. Okay, but later on he became what? A zoologist. Lamarck was the first person, okay, to give the name vertebrates. Okay, vertebrates. He was the first person to introduce this word. Okay, vertebrates. Was the first person to also introduce what? Annelids. Okay, so these two words were first what? Introduced by Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. All right, so he was the first person to what? To present a theory on evolution. Okay, he was a botanist. All right, but later on had to become what? A zoologist. All right, and of course, for the first person also to give all these terms, vertebrates and annelids. The theory of Lamarck was produced, okay, in what? It was published in a book in the year 1809. Okay, please take note of the dates. All right, the theory was published what? In a book in the year 1809. The name of the book was Zoological, okay, Philosophy. Okay, this was the name of what? Of the book, all right, that Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, okay, published what? His theory, okay, in the year 1809. In that book, he made mention of what? Of giraffes. of giraffes, okay, being what the tallest animals, okay. He said that what that giraffes were tall and silent mammals. They were tall and silent what? Mammals, okay. So we spoke about what the theory of what of use and disuse, theory of acquired characteristics, okay. So let's quickly just please see Lamarck's theory in a quick form, all right? So especially what when he talked about what the giraffes, all right, Lamarck. Okay, so he said that what long time ago, right, a very long time ago, that giraffes they had what very what short necks. Okay, that long time ago, that what that giraffes had what very short necks, okay, that they lived, these giraffes, right, that they lived in places where there was what scarcity of what of food, okay, there was scarcity of what of grass, and so they had to what depend on the what on the leaves on the tree, so they had to what stretch their neck to reach the leaves on what on tall trees. Please follow the story as we continue, as we go on. All right. So beginning, they said long time ago, giraffes had very short necks. Okay, that giraffes had short neck like that of a goat. Okay, that over time, all right, when food became scarce on the ground, when there was shortage of grasses on the ground to graze on, all right, that what giraffes begin to what to stretch their neck to reach the leaves on what on tall trees. So number two, he said that what that giraffes, okay, lived in places, sorry, not on, in places where grass was scarce, okay, and only the leaves on tall trees were available, okay, and only the leaves on tall trees were available. Okay, so now what did Lamarck now said what happened? So number one, he said that giraffes stretched their neck to reach the leaves on tall trees. All right. So number one, he said giraffes, okay, stretched their necks, okay, to reach the leaves on tall trees. Okay, as there was food scarcity on the ground, the giraffes had to stretch their necks, okay, to reach the food on tall trees. And number two, he said that their necks became what longer because of what this constant stretching. All right. So as they continue to stretch their necks became what longer. All right. So number two, that their necks, okay, became longer, okay, because of this constant stretching. All right. So that means that that it was because they kept on using their necks, okay, that was what made their necks to become what longer. And number three, it says that they passed these long necks to their babies. Okay. Number three, they passed these long necks to their babies. Okay, that means that that the babies, they acquired the long necks of this giraffe. Okay, the giraffes acquired the long necks because of constant stretching. All right, and then the babies now acquired the long necks from their parents. And he concluded by saying that after many generations, okay, number four, that after many generations, okay, that giraffes now had long necks. Okay, so in summary, what we're talking about was that the ancestors of giraffes, right, they grew in a place where grasses was scarce for them to graze on, to graze. Okay, they couldn't graze because there was shortage of grasses. Okay, and so they only had to depend on leaves, okay, that were on tall trees for what? For feeding. And then Lamarck said that what? First of all, giraffes stretched their necks to reach the leaves on tall trees, and that their necks became longer because of this constant stretching, and that they passed these long necks to their babies. And after many generations, giraffes now had long necks. Okay, so two things here. He's talking about what? He spoke about the theory, okay, of what? Of inheritance of acquired characters. Okay, so that is the first one there. Okay, from here where he was saying that they passed these long necks to their babies. They had the long necks because of constant stretching, and then they passed the long necks to their babies. So that means that what? He postulated the theory of what? Of inheritance of acquired characters, which was very wrong. Okay, but let us leave that for now. Then number two, he also proposed the theory of use and what? And disuse of organs. Okay, what Lamarck meant by all this was that if you have an organ in your body, if you use it, it will grow. Okay, it means that what? If you use it, in summary, it meant that if you use what? The organ, it will what? It will grow. Okay, but if you refuse to use it, don't use it, then what? It disappears. All right, so this was what his postulations, okay? The theory of what? Of inheritance of acquired characteristics, and then also the use and disuse of what? Of organs, okay? So it now took what? Later scientists like Darwin, okay? So in the next theory, we're going to be looking at Darwinism, all right? So Darwin now was the person that now came to explain, okay? To explain better, okay, to us about what giraffes. Darwin said that variation has always been present. Okay, that variation, these small genetic differences that we see, okay, between our parents and their offsprings, okay, that it has always been present. And even at that time, that they were what? Even tall, they were tall giraffes. Okay, they were tall giraffes, they were short giraffes. Okay. All right, they were tall garden giraffes, they were short ones. Okay, so that variation, differences, slight differences that we see, okay, between parents and their young and their offsprings, okay, small genetic differences that we experience, okay, have always been present in what? In population. Okay, so that it is not what the stretching of the neck of the giraffe that made it to have a long neck. That those long neck giraffes have always been there. Okay, even human beings, don't we have tall people? We have tall people, isn't it? Don't we have short people? We have short people. Don't we have people of average height? We have people of average height. Okay, are there no different variations in what? In people? Don't we have different eye color? Okay, different skin color? Okay, ear lobes. Okay, hair type, okay, eye color, and so on and so forth. So these variations, okay, have always been present in population. And that with changing population and environments, the variant, okay, which is better, okay, successfully what? Feeds and successfully what? Breeds. Okay, so now when there was scarcity of food then, okay, what this means, all right, that the variant, okay, that is better is one that survives, okay, that and feeds and breeds. Okay, is trying to explain the fact that even at that time, all right, when there was shortage of food, the short giraffes, okay, those ones, they could not feed. So naturally, they'll be going extinct, okay? So all those ones will be going, they'll be fading out. The ones that can, that have alternative, that had long necks that could stretch and eat from trees, they will naturally survive, okay? Because they could feed and because they could breed. That is why it now looks like it's only long-necked giraffe that has always been in existence. But by the way, they were not the only ones that were existed there, okay? They were tall ones, they were giraffes with tall necks, they were giraffes with short neck, okay? But it was the variant, okay, that had the opportunity to feed and breed, okay, are the ones that survived. Variation provides raw materials, okay? Provides what we call materials for evolution. Okay, so variation provides what? Raw materials for what? For evolution. And what is the source of what? Of this variation? The source of what? This variation, okay? The source of variation, all right? Variation is what? Is mutation. Okay, so it is DNA mutation that happens. Mutation happens, and then what? Variation now what? Comes. Okay, so variation provides raw materials for what? For evolution. Take note of what of that is very, very important. Lamarck gave what? Examples of what? Of these long-necked giraffes, okay, to support his theory. Lamarck, I'm talking about Lamarck, not Darwin now, okay? So Darwin explained what this giraffe, okay, matter. All right, me say now, we're talking about Lamarck. So Lamarck actually supported this theory by naming some organisms like what some things like this long neck of what? Of giraffes. Okay, to support his theory, he measured what? The limbless body of what? Of snakes to support his theory, and also aquatic birds. Okay, so this were what? The things what he mentioned, all right, so what? To support his theory. To support his theory further, okay, he also what? Made mention of what? Of some few things, okay? Like number one, all right, talked about what? The effect of environmental factors. Number one, the effect of environmental factors. All right. So Lamarck, okay, said that what? That environmental factors like temperature, okay, like light, okay, like moisture, all right, affects both plants and animals. All right. So Lamarck said that what he said, like environmental factors like temperature, like moisture, like light. All right. That these factors, they affect what? Both plants and animals. And if you look at it very well, he did not say anything wrong there. Okay. This is absolutely what? Correct, because temperature, light, moisture affect what? Both plants and what? And animals. It affects how they breed. Okay, it affects how they grow. All right. So Lamarck was not wrong in this one. All right, it was very, very correct. All right, because environmental factors do actually what? Affect what? Both plants and animals. Then number two, he spoke about what? New needs and what? And desires. New needs and desires. Okay, so he said that what? That as environment keep changing, okay, that's what? That new needs, okay, we what? We emerge. New needs, all right, we what? We arise. New desires, we what? Will emerge, okay? And because of this, all right, that organisms will develop organs, okay, to meet what? Those what? New needs, okay? But this was absolutely what? Wrong, all right? So you're saying that what? As environment, okay, as environment keeps changing, all right, new needs and desires will what? Will arise, okay? This is what we're trying to explain, all right? So as environment keeps changing, and truly, as environment keeps changing, new needs will what? Definitely what? Arise. But where it was wrong was where it said what? That what? Organisms will develop new organs, okay? And it said that organisms will develop new organs, okay, to meet these needs, okay, and desires. All right. So this one is what? Is absolutely very, very wrong. Okay. So the first part was correct. Okay. That as environment keeps changing, new needs will arise, new desires will arise. Okay. But that he said that all the organisms will develop new organs to meet these needs and desires was where it was what? Absolutely wrong. Okay. Because just imagine it. For example, let's say what example? Let's say I like to fly like a bird. All right. So no matter how I do like this, Will I fly? I will never be able to fly because what? There are so many adaptations, okay, that bird has that will make it fly, even apart from one from that wing, okay. Bird have very, very light body. I want to get light body, okay. So it will be very, very, very difficult. All right, so new organs do not what arise at all. Okay, so that was what made what this part of what of his conclusion very, very wrong. So new organs do not arise to meet what new needs. Then number 3, the use and disuse of what of organs. Use and disuse, okay, of what of organs. Okay, so now I've explained this, okay, earlier on. All right, so what we're saying here is that if you don't use what a particular what organ, okay, it will either disappear or what you will lose it. Okay, so this was what it meant what by use and disuse. Okay, that's why its theory, okay, it's also called what the theory of use and disuse of organs. Okay, so that means that if you have a particular organ, let's say as I have this hand now, okay, let's say I'm not using it to do anything. Okay, over time, this hand will disappear. Is it possible? So it will not disappear. But it said that what if you keep on using it, it will develop, okay, it will grow bigger. It will grow bigger, okay. So that was what it meant. So he observed blacksmiths. Blacksmith now, those people that used to work to make sword, make hoe, make cutlass, make iron things. Okay, that will be hitting hammer every time. Okay, he discovered that their biceps, okay, became bigger. Okay, as they kept on using the hammer to hit the thing. So that was what he observed. So he thought that okay, if you keep on using a particular part of your body, all right, over time it will grow bigger. But if you do not use it, okay, you will lose it, or it will disappear. Okay, but this was very, very wrong. Okay, because for example, like since we were born, you are using your tongue, using it to taste things. Okay, without your tongue, say you cannot talk. Okay, you are using it. The tongue, has it grown bigger than it is? No. The tongue will not grow larger. It will not come out of your mouth now and not be rubbing the floor. All right. So those of you that have reproductive parts, okay, like for example the penis. All right. So no matter how somebody has used the penis to born 300 children, okay, the penis will not become so long that it will not be rubbing the ground. Okay, there was one movie that they released one time, Organic Way. I don't know, I think one Nigerian film like that. Okay, when the person with penis was rubbing the full ground, okay, say it was very long. Okay, so yes, those ones are just fictional, so it's not real. All right, so it's not possible. So no matter how you use a particular organ, all right, it's not possible that it is going to what is it called now? Are going to become very, very big. Okay, so this was very, very wrong also. Okay, so the theory of use and disuse is attributed to what? To Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. Okay, Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. DE. Okay, you're hearing me saying de Lamarck. Okay, de Lamarck. Okay, you can put the DE. Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. Then number 4. Okay, inheritance of acquired characters. Inheritance of what? Of acquired characters. Okay, so this theory is also called the theory of what? Of acquired characters. The theory of acquired characters. Alright, this is also attributed to what? To Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. Okay, so we're saying that whatever characters that an organism, okay, acquired during its lifetime, that it is passed on, okay, from the parents, okay, to the what? To the offspring. Okay, so that is what the theory of what? Inheritance of what? Of acquired characters. That whatever character an organism acquires during its lifetime, it is passed on, okay, to what? To the offsprings. To offsprings. All right, so it's trying to say that what? The character that you acquired, okay, that they are passed on from generation to generation, okay, but this is what also very, very wrong. Inside, they very wrong, okay, because what? For example, if like now I go to the gym, okay, I go to the gym, so I may have what brother chest. I've not gone for a while, so my chest have gone down. Before, if you see me, I sometimes see some of my previous videos. Okay, you see how big I am. Okay, so now even if I give birth, okay, to an offspring, with that child come with what? With built body? No. Okay, so that is very, very, very wrong. That first of all what disproves that what completely. Then number two, if I have like tattoos in my body now, all right, and I give birth to an offspring, will that offspring have tattoos in his body? No. All right. Okay. So I'm sure that you have seen parents that pierce their nose. Okay, they pierce their nose. They will pierce ear. Now even okay, piercing of ear, which is normal for girls because of earrings. Okay. Now when you give birth to a newborn baby, does it come pierced? It doesn't come what pierced. All right. So whatever you acquire during what your lifetime, they acquire what character, so they cannot be passed on to what? To the offspring. So in some of the things that Jean-Baptiste Lamarck said, some were true, some were also very, very wrong. Cuvier and Weismann were great critics, okay, of what? Of Lamarck's what? Postulations, okay? Cuvier and Weismann, okay? They were what? They were great critics, okay, of what? Of Lamarck. Okay, so that is what Cuvier and Weismann, right? They were what? Great critics of Lamarck. They no agree at all, okay, for many of the things where what Lamarck talk. Okay, so they were great critics. They criticized what Lamarck very well. Okay, Weismann gave the theory of germplasm. Weismann, okay, he gave what the theory of what? Of germplasm. Okay, so what Weismann did was that he took what? Rats. Okay, he took what? A male and a female rat. Okay, he cut their tails. He cut their tails and then he allowed them to mate. Okay, when they mated, they gave birth to what? Another generation. They had tails. The one that they gave birth to had tails. Okay, so now he interpreted them again. He cut those next generation. He cut their tails again. Interpreted them. Okay. They still gave birth to what? To offspring that had what? Taste. All right. Then what? He kept on doing it. And then this what led to what? To his conclusion. Okay. That what? That they are what? Somatic cells in our body. And then they were what? They were also what? Germinal cells. Germinal was cells. Okay. And then what? He said what? These germinal cells were what? The reproductive what? Cells, okay? Now the germinal cells were what? Were reproductive cells, okay? That in our body we have somatic cells and then we have what? Germinal cells, okay? So by germinal cells was referring to what? To the reproductive what? Cells, okay? So he just did that experiment to show that what? That acquired characteristics cannot be what? Passed on, all right? To what? To the offspring, okay? So take note of what Cuvier and what? And Weismann, they were a great critic of what? Of Lamarck, and then what? Weismann will propose the theory of what? Of germplasm. Then also there's also what? New Lamarckism. Okay, so in the new Lamarckism, the shortcomings of what? Of Lamarck's were removed. Okay, and then what? It was what? Improved what? Upon. Now, so let's quickly now talk about what? Darwinism. All right, Charles Darwin, the Edinburgh boy. All right. Charles Darwin. So we are discovering that many of you do not support our videos, you do not like our videos, you don't subscribe to our channel, you don't share the link of our videos to your friends and loved ones. This is very, very wrong, okay? That means that what you are saying that what other students who are preparing for this exam should go and fail, okay? Do you know that by just leaving everything you are doing now and liking this video, it will YouTube and other social medias that we are on, we recommend these videos to people who are preparing for this exam. All right. So these videos, if they are useful to you, it will definitely be useful to them. So please ensure you click on the like button immediately. Leave everything you are doing, click on the like button. Okay. Subscribe to this channel. If you are watching from Facebook, follow us on Facebook. If you are watching from TikTok, follow us on TikTok. Okay. Subscribe. All right, share the link of our videos to your friends and your loved ones, okay, from wherever you are watching. Okay, share on Facebook, share on TikTok. All right, and God will bless you abundantly. Okay, so let us look at what? Darwinism. All right, so this is what? Charles Robert Darwin, okay? So Darwinism was proposed, okay, by Charles Robert Darwin, all right? So his principle is called what? Darwinism, or the principle or the theory of what? Natural selection. All right. So this theory of natural selection is one of the most important theory of what? Of general biology. Please take note of that. It is one of the most important theory of what? Of general biology. It was given by what? Charles Robert Darwin. Okay, alongside with what? With Wallace. All right. So take note of that. So, but Wallace is not usually spoken about much, all right, because what Darwin gave a more complete theory. So Russell Wallace is not giving that much general attention, okay, but of course Russell Wallace, okay, his full name was Russell Wallace, all right. So Charles Robert Darwin gave what? The theory of natural selection, one of the most important theory of general biology, okay, alongside with what? With Russell Wallace, okay? But Wallace is not generally spoken of, all right? Because what? Darwin gave a more complete theory, all right? So Darwin was born in the year 1809 in England, okay? Was born in the year 1809 in England, and then what? He was sent to study medicine, okay, at the University of Edinburgh. All right. So he was sent to to study medicine at the University of Edinburgh. As part of his training, he was required to attend operations, okay, just like when we were having surgery, all those things, okay. So as part of his training as a medical doctor, all right, even as if you want to study medicine, all right, it's normal practice, okay. There's a time that it will be what do they call it? Whether it's housemanship, before they now make you doctor, you go and what? You go and be going to where they are doing operation, all those things. All right. So as part of his training, all right, was required to attend operation, okay. And as at that time, there was nothing like antiseptic, okay, antiseptic. There was nothing like anesthesia. Okay. This anesthesia is to numb a particular area, all right? So, for example, they can give you the anesthesia somewhere here now in your hand. So this your hand, you'll not be feeling anything, no matter what they do. So, okay, so at that time, there was no anesthesia, there was no antiseptic. And so Darwin, in one of these operations, all right, he witnessed the surgery on a child, okay? He witnessed a child surgery, child, okay? He witnessed a child surgery, and the child was shouting in agony, okay? So there was no antiseptic, there was no anesthesia at that time, all right? So the child was shouting, okay, in so much pain. The child was in so much pain, okay, and in agony. And so Darwin was horrified. He was horrified, okay? He was scared, okay? He was, in fact, he couldn't bear it. And because of this, he had to drop out of medical school. Drop out, okay? He dropped out of Of medical school because of what he witnessed, okay? And then, of course, he went to study nature. All right. So Darwin had to drop out of medical school, all right, because of what he experienced, and then went ahead to study nature. Although it was not a very smart decision, okay, but then he had no option. But Darwin was smart. He was smart and and sharp minded. All right. He was very smart and he was sharp minded. So he switched to go and study theology. Okay, at Cambridge. Okay, he switched to theology. He switched to study theology. All right, so Darwin switched to study theology at Cambridge, but his true nature, okay, his true nature was still in nature. He loved nature so much, okay, so he was looking for opportunities. And in 1831, okay, he got the chance, all right, to join a very big ship known as HMS Beagle, okay, all right, known as HMS Beagle. all right, as a naturalist. All right, so in 1831, he got a chance, okay, to join what? HMS Beagle. All right, so a very, very big ship that was going on voyage. That was going on what? On voyage, all right? Okay, for what? For 5 years, a 5 years voyage. Okay, so in 1831, Darwin got the chance, okay, to join what? This big ship, HMS Beagle, to go together with them as what? As a naturalist, okay, I meant to say. So Robert Fitzroy, okay, was the captain of all this ship. Robert Fitzroy, all right? He was the captain of what? Of this ship, and he needed a gentleman naturalist. All right, to what? To go with him, all right, on what? On this what? On this voyage. Okay, so the Darwin's mentor at Cambridge, you know, went to study what? Theology at Cambridge. So his mentor at Cambridge was the one that what? That recommended him, okay, for what? For this job. Okay, that is what Reverend John Stevens Henslow. All right, it was the one that recommended what? Darwin to what? To go on voyage for what? For Robert Fitzroy as a naturalist in the big ship known as HMS Beagle. Also, Darwin's uncle, okay, Darwin's uncle, whose name was Josiah Wedgwood, okay, Josiah, okay, Wedgwood. Okay, Josiah Wedgwood, all right, was the person that begged his father to allow Darwin to go, because Darwin's father was saying, my son, we can saying go medical school, way wrong, go they study theology for another school. You want go 5 years go. Imagine your child coming to you, say, want to go and follow one ship like that, okay, to go and do voyage. All right, you as a parent, you first of all discourage it. Okay, so his father didn't want this to happen. All right, so Josiah Wedgwood, Darwin's uncle, had to persuade the father to let Darwin to go. But do you know the funny thing? He was not going to be paid for this trip. All right, so the work he was going to be doing is also free work. Okay, was not going to. It was a free work, no payments was to be made. Okay, so the voyage actually supposed to last for 2 years. It was supposed to last for 2 years, but it ended up lasting for what? For 5 whole years. The ship, okay, left England. Okay, it left Plymouth. All right, left from Plymouth, England. Plymouth in England. Okay, on the 27th of December 1831, all right, and they returned in the year 1836. Okay, all right, if you do the calculation there, you see that it lasted for 5 years. But Darwin got the chance to explore many countries, okay, many islands, all right, and of course one of those stops, they stopped at an island called Galapagos Island. All right, so he got the chance, all right, to go to many islands, go to many countries. All right, and then of course one of those stops was Galapagos Island. All right, so please, if you have not liked this video till now, if you have not downloaded the O3 Schools app till now, all right, you are doing yourself a big disfavor. Download the app, activate it, tell your friends about the app. Okay, nobody you go pass. Okay, go and see our testimonies last year. People scoring 300 like water. All right, your case will not be different. Okay, so they stopped at what? Galapagos Island. So the thing was that whenever they got to an island, all right, any island, they will stop. Okay, so Darwin will come down, we go and do his research, and then come back to the ship. Whatever he wanted to bring, he will bring back to the ship. So in Galapagos Island, okay, he explored several creatures. Okay, he explored several creatures. Galapagos is it's a Spanish word. Galapagos is a Spanish word, okay, that means giant tortoise. All right, so take note of that. Okay, Galapagos is a Spanish word that means giant tortoise, and the ship stayed in this island for 5 weeks. for 5 weeks. Okay, so whenever they got to any island, like I said, all right, you will come down, go and search for different organisms. Okay, all right, if it is bones, you will bring them. We should see what about things organism is all. Okay, you will bring them to the ship. They are dead bones. All right, you will bring them to the ship. Okay, you had the opportunity to study several creatures. He studied giant tortoise, like we said. Okay, he studied mockingbirds also. Okay, he studied finches. Okay, he studied lizards. Okay, and many plants. Okay, definitely there'll be several plants. Okay, so he had the opportunity to study several organisms: giant tortoise, mockingbird, finches, lizards, plants, and the likes. He was so excited, and he called this island living island of evolution. He was so excited, okay, and then he called this island, he named this island, this Galapagos Island, living laboratory of evolution. All right, so here he saw a lot of organisms. Darwin loved nature. Okay, so he was very, very happy. Okay, to be able to encounter several types of organisms in this island, and particularly finches. Okay, finches was what gave him the idea of natural selection. All right, so finches, all right, finches looked like they were somewhat like birds. Okay, so it was finches. Please take note. It was finches. Okay, this organism known as finches that gave him the idea of natural selection. There were 14 different variety. Okay, 14 different variety of this finches. Okay, of the finches. All right, 13 were on the Galapagos Island, and then there was one other variety that was on the near island close to Galapagos, known as the Cocos Island. All right, so the finches, all right, they had 14 different varieties. Okay, like finches, they are like birds. Okay, they have 14 different varieties. Okay, 13 were on the main Galapagos Island, and then one other one was on the near Cocos Island. Finches are example of what we call adaptive radiation. All right, an example of what we call adaptive radiation. Adaptive. All right, so adaptive radiation is a divergent evolution. Divergent evolution. Okay, do you know what divergent evolution is? Divergent evolution is a condition, or it's a process whereby two organisms that have a common ancestor, right? They have common ancestor. Okay, but have now become two different species over time. All right, so two organisms with a common ancestor becoming different species is what we call divergent evolution. Okay, so adaptive radiation is divergent. Okay, is the divergent evolution, or what we call development of different functional structures, of different functional structures among a group of closely related animals. All right, so that is what adaptive radiation. Okay, so adaptive radiation is the divergent evolution or development of different functional structures. Okay, just like I was talking about the finches. Okay, all right, so there were like 14 variants of the finches. Like we said, one was on the Cocos Island, 13 were on the Galapagos Island. All right, so that is what adaptive radiation. Now, all these finches that had 13 different varieties, they are now different species. So okay, so but of course they had they had to come from one variety initially. Okay, so they had all these 14 variants had a common ancestor. Okay, they had a common ancestor, but they have now become what different species on their own. All right, that's why we say what is the divergent evolution or the development of different functional structures. All right, among what a group of closely related what animals. All right, so on the Galapagos Island, all right, the finches are which were what initially was seed eating what finches now have what many what altered form of beaks. Okay, they now have what altered form of beaks. Okay, so over time, all right, their beaks evolved. All right, so they now have a different altered form of what of beaks. Okay, so that is what adaptive what radiation. That's why I say what finches is an example of what of adaptive radiation. Okay, for example of divergent evolution is mice and bats. Okay, mice and bat. It's an example of divergent evolution. Okay, so they have a common ancestor, but now, okay, over successful what generations that become what different what species. Okay, so that is that for that. That's understand what adaptive radiation is. Okay, it's the divergent evolution or development of what different functional structures among a group of closely related animals. So now, but what is what natural selection? What is this what natural was selection? Okay, so let us see what natural selection is. So natural selection is a process whereby what organisms will become what they adapt, or organisms that have adapted to what to a particular environment become what better suited for the environment, and then what they breed, they feed, and then what they give birth to what to young ones that can survive in that what environment. Okay, that is what natural selection. Okay, so let me put it down for you, for those who are writing. All right, so we say natural selection is a process. Natural selection is a process in which organisms better adapted to their environment, tend to survive. Okay, so organisms that are better adapted to their environment, okay, they tend to to survive, okay, and give birth or produce offspring, okay, tend to survive and produce, okay, or give birth to offsprings. All right, so that is what natural selection. All right, it's a process in which organisms become better adapted to their environment. All right, and organisms which are already become better adapted to the environment survive and produce offspring. Okay, so now there are some organisms in the environment. Let's say a goat now has adapted to this environment, okay, that I am in currently, okay. He can source for water, can get food, all right. He can the temperature is not too much for him, okay. He can survive in this environment, all right. Then he begins to breed, okay. He begins to breed and give birth to offspring, okay. That is what natural selection is, okay. So see, it's a process in which organisms which are better adapted to an environment tend to survive and produce offsprings. It is a process whereby organisms, okay, can also say a process, natural selection, a process whereby organisms which are physically, okay, physiologically and behaviorally better adjusted to their environment, okay, survive, okay, reproduce, and get more number of what we call surviving offsprings. Okay, so that's another way we can define what natural selection, right? It's a process whereby organisms which are physically, physiologically, and behaviorally better adjusted to the environment survive, reproduce, okay, and get and produce more number of what surviving what offsprings. Okay, so that is what natural selection. Okay, so we're looking at the physicality, the physiological adaptation, the behavioral adaptation to their environment. Okay, they survive, reproduce what more number of what of surviving what offsprings like them. We have two types of what selection. Okay, we have one we call artificial selection. Okay, this one is done by humans in a laboratory. Okay, they'll now have what natural selection. This one is done by what? By nature. Okay, it is done by nature in a very, very, very large scale. Okay, so that is what artificial selection and natural selection. We have natural selection, which is done by what humans in the laboratory. We have what natural, which is done by what by nature. Okay, in a very, very large scale throughout the whole world. Okay, so also have a concept that we know as Darwinian fitness. Okay, Darwinian fitness. So Darwinian fitness is talking about Darwin was talking about Darwinian fitness in the sense that organisms that survive and able to produce more number of kids, able to produce more number of babies, okay, are the ones that are fit. Okay, now them fit. Okay, they are the fit ones. Okay, so organisms that can produce several number of offsprings, okay, are fit. Okay, so that is the concept of what? Of Darwinian fitness. Okay, we'll call it what? Darwinian fitness. All right, that organisms that are what? That can produce several number of offsprings, okay, are the ones that are described as what? As fit, okay, according to Darwin. According to Darwin, okay, fitness is not what anyone can do. So it's not by going to the gym, okay. Fitness is not about going to the gym according to Darwin, okay. Every organism that wants to be fit has to be what? Reproductively fit. All right, so according to Darwin, okay, if you want to be fit, you must be reproductively fit. You must be able to give birth to several number of what? Of offspring, several number of babies or kids. The fitness, according to Darwin, is what? Is reproductive fitness, okay? Right? That's what that organisms that are fit, all right, will leave more progeny. Okay, progeny is what? Is offsprings, okay? We leave more progeny than what? Than others. Even human beings, okay? You see that what? Man goes to work because of food, because so that he goes see chop. Okay, now why did he go work? Okay, so man goes ahead looking for what food to eat, and what they want to what also what leave what offspring behind. Okay, so humans also will partake in what? In reproductive fitness according to what? To Darwin. So also have another term that we know of as what? As speciation. Speciation. Please take note of speciation. Look at Darwinian fitness, speciation. Okay, so organisms that can interbreed, okay, and ones that are known as what? As species. Okay, so organisms that can successfully interbreed, organisms that can successfully interbreed, okay, are the ones, okay, that's what we refer to us as what? As speciation. Okay, that the ones known as what? As species. Okay, all right, are called species. So organisms that can successfully interbreed are called what? Species. So speciation is the process of formation. Okay, so speciation, right, is the process of what? Formation of new species. Okay, so organisms that can successfully interbreed, we call them species. Okay, while the process of formation of new species is known as speciation. There are two types of what? Of speciation. We have what? Number one, allopatric speciation. Then number two, we have the sympatric speciation. Okay, so allopatric speciation, okay, is due to what? To geographical isolation. Okay, is what causes what? Allopatric speciation. All right, geographical isolation is what causes allopatric speciation. Why what? Reproductive isolation reproductive what? Isolation, okay, is what causes what? Sympatric speciation. Please take note of that. We have two types. We say organisms that can what? Successfully interbreed across species. Okay, the process of formation of new species is known as speciation. We have two types of speciation: adaptative speciation and sympatric speciation. We say what? Adaptative speciation is as a result of what? Geographical isolation, while what? Sympatric speciation is as a result of reproductive isolation. So two key concepts in Darwin's theory of evolution, or the Darwinian theory of evolution, is number one, what we call branching descent, okay, and the very most important one, which is what? Natural what? Selection, okay. So these are the two most important what? Key points, okay, in what? In Darwinian theory of what? Of evolution: branching descent and what? And natural selection. So Darwin was what? Of the view, okay, that from two or more organisms, okay, or new other species, okay, started what? Forming, okay. That's what we're trying to talk about, what? This branching descent, okay. Understand how what a branch is now, okay. Even a branch will have what? Other branches, okay. So that was what we were trying to mean by what? By this branching descent, that one or two species, okay, all right, will begin to what? Form and new what? Species, okay, also will begin to what? To emerge, all right. So that one returned in the year what? 1836, okay, from what? From the HMS Beagle. Just like I told you, the voyage was supposed to last for 2 years, but of course eventually lasted 5 years. He returned in the year 1836. When he returned, he began to what? Write his what? His research paper. Began to write his research what? Paper secretly. Okay, because what he was, when he went to the voyage, he was working for people, for somebody. Okay, he was working for Captain Fitzroy. All right, so there was no way he would have been doing it openly. So he had to be writing his research paper secretly. All right, he named it what? The problem of species. Problem of species. Okay, but then later on he changed it from problem of species to what? To origin. Origin of what? Of species, okay. So later we'll change it to what? From problem of species to the origin of species. And along the line, he received what? A research paper, okay, from what? From Wallace, okay, Alfred Russel Wallace, okay. What was the name, the title, okay, of what? Of this what? Paper that he received. He called it Tendency of Variety to Depart Indefinitely from Original Time, okay. So he received what? A research paper, all right, from Alfred Russel Wallace, okay, titled Tendency of Variety, all right, Tendency of Variety to Depart indefinitely, not be small name, indefinitely from original time. Okay, so that was what the title of what? Of the research paper that was sent to Darwin by Alfred Russel Wallace, who was also an evolutionary scientist. Okay, so that's why when I was introducing what Darwinian, okay, I also mentioned what Russel Wallace, okay, I mentioned what Wallace, okay, but he was not what fully, whenever natural selection is mentioned, okay, it's not, his name doesn't come up often, okay, but Darwin what takes what the nod, okay, because what Darwin had what a more complete what research paper on what on the topic. Russel, okay, Russel studied the flora and fauna, okay, of Malay, Malay archipelago. Okay, this was a very huge geographical area in Indonesia and Malaysia. All right, so Russel was studied what? The flora and fauna of what? of Malay Archipelago, okay, which is what a very huge geographical area, all right, in what, in Indonesia and what, and Malaysia. And of course, Darwin was what, was very fond of what, of reading what, research what papers. And of course, after what, reading what this, all right, Darwin introduced what, his friends, okay, John Dalton Hooker, okay, and Charles Lyell, all right? He introduced what, John Dalton Hooker and Charles Lyell to Alfred Russel what, Wallace, okay? So Darwin, like, of course, wanted to just get what, knowledge, okay? So he lost reading what, other people's research work, all right? So as to what, make his own research very what, bumper. All right, so and along the line, Alfred Russel Wallace sent him what, his research work titled The Tendency of Variety to Depart Indefinitely from Original Time. Okay, so when Darwin read this, okay, he introduced his two friends. Darwin introduced his own two friends to what? To Alfred Russel Wallace, so by their name John Dalton Hooker and Charles Lyell. So then a proper presentation of what, of the work of Russell, okay, was made to the scientific community in London. Okay, scientific community right there in London, right? So, but of course, Darwin's work was more detailed, okay? He had more knowledge, okay? The voyage exposed him to a whole lot of things, okay? So, whenever natural selection is mentioned, all right, Darwin will get the nod, all right? So Darwin published what is theory of natural selection in the year 1859. Okay, he named it what, the origin of species. All right, so Darwin published his theory of natural selection in his book Origin of Species in the year 1859. Also, there was another thing. Okay, there was another scientist known as what, T.R. Malthus, Thomas Robert Malthus. Okay, T.R. Malthus. Okay, he said that population, okay, increases in a geometric progression while food supply, okay, he said our population increases in a geometric, please, if you want to write geometric progression, okay, why what, food supply increases in an arithmetic progression. Okay, what did he mean by this? He meant, you know what GP and AP is for the math student, right? Okay, you see what all this term now being used in biology, so you'll be wondering sometimes. That's why as a biology student, you must know math also, okay? You know what geometric progression is. You know what arithmetic progression is, okay? So arithmetic, you are adding, okay? Arithmetic, you are adding, okay? Or you are probably was subtracting, okay? But what, for geometric, you are what? You are multiplying or dividing, okay? So GP maybe if you have something like this, 2 raised to power 2, you have 2 raised to, okay, 2 raised to power 1, 2 raised to power 2, 2 raised to power 3, 2 raised to power 4, okay? This is what, geometric, okay? It's increasing what, exponentially, all right? But of course, arithmetic, you see 1, okay, you may see 2, you see what, 4, okay, you see 6, you're adding 2, okay? So this is like what, geometric, this one is what is arithmetic, all right? Sorry, this is geometric, this one is what is arithmetic, okay? So population is increasing what, geometrically, while what, food supply is what, is increasing arithmetically. It means that what, that the food supply is never sufficient for the ever what, changing what, population, okay, ever increasing population, okay? So this was given by what, by T.R. Malthus, okay? Was one that also what did what proposed the theory of population growth, okay? Please take note of Malthus theory of population growth, okay? It's also what attributed to this young man there. So now let us quickly look at mutation theory, okay? So please ensure you have downloaded this O3 Schools application, all right? And you are studying to your own success, as everything that you need is on the application, all right? So please do not deter yourself, okay? Start on time. Okay, so let's look at mutation Theory. Okay, so now when Darwin published his work, okay, there were a lot of shortcomings in the work also. Okay, all right, so Darwin, it led to a lot of controversy. Okay, it was very controversial. In fact, streets were closed. Okay, Darwin books were burnt in the library. All right, in fact, there was a lot of violence. Okay, Darwin said that humans, apes, and monkeys, okay, exactly, that they are the same. He said that they were what? They were related. All right. He said what? Human, apes, and what? Monkeys were related. That was the exact thing he said. Okay, that humans, apes, and monkeys were what? Were related. And of course, the church was one of the major driving force over this big brawl and this fights. Okay, and a lot of reactions, okay, criticism on Darwin's work. All right, so of course you know that the world is not easily susceptible to change. When a change happens, okay, it's not easy to quickly immediately embrace it. All right, so there were a lot of shortcoming in the work of Charles Darwin. Darwin also said something about overproduction. Okay, Darwin said that organisms, okay, have an inherent ability. That organisms have an inherent ability to overproduce. All right, okay, that is one. All right, also we talked about what's it called? Survival of the fittest. He spoke about limited resources. Okay, he spoke about limited resources. Okay, so Darwin said that the resources such as food supply, okay, all right, water, all right, and even mating partner, okay, shelter. Okay, that all of these are they are limited. Okay, they are in limited supply. Right. So it spoke about limited resources, say food supply, shelter, mating partners. All of them, they are in limited supply. And then spoke about struggle for existence. Struggle for existence. Okay, so Darwin spoke about all of these. He said that there are three types of struggles. Number one, we have intraspecific. Okay, intraspecific struggle. He spoke about interspecific struggle. Okay, he also talked about environmental. Okay, so he spoke about struggle for existence. All right, he spoke about he said there are three types of struggle. Okay, intraspecific struggle, interspecific struggle, and then environmental struggle. Intraspecific talk about struggle among members. Struggle among members of their own species. Okay, for food, for mating partner, for shelter. Okay, that one is called intraspecific struggle. All right, interspecific struggle among different members, about members of different species. Okay, among members, struggle among members of different species. Okay, for food supply. Okay, for shelter. All right, while environmental struggle, okay, is struggle among struggle among members for light. Okay, for environmental factors. Okay, like maybe water, like heat, like temperature. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is environmental struggle. So he said that there are three types of struggle: intraspecific struggle among members of their own species, for shelter, for food; interspecific struggle among members of different species; and environmental struggle among the members for light. Okay, for other environmental factors. So Darwin said that talked about overproduction, like I said. Okay, he spoke about overproduction of organisms, that the inherent ability of organisms to overproduce. Then he spoke about variation also. Variation. Okay, this variation are the small genetic differences that are seen between what parents and what and their offspring, okay, or slight differences that are seen between parents and offspring, which is called what variation. All right, so as at that time, all right, there was no much knowledge about what mutation. Okay, in fact, Darwin knew nothing about genetics. Okay, he didn't know anything about genetics. Okay, and also for mutation, he knew that what mutants existed. Okay, he knew about mutants, but he didn't think they had any evolutionary relevance. Okay, evolutionary relevance at that time. Okay, so that was what Darwin he didn't know anything about genetics. Okay, but he knew about mutants, but he didn't think that mutants had any evolutionary relevance. He went further to say that no two individuals look exactly the same. Okay, which is very, very correct. All right. He said that no two individuals look exactly the same. He went ahead to publish the theory of pangenesis. In the year is 1868. Okay, he published the theory of pangenesis. This was his own attempt to explain genes and DNA. Okay, but he had no knowledge of genetics. The main idea of this was that every cell in the body produces tiny particles known as as gemmules. Okay, known as as gemmules. Okay, that is GEMMULES. Okay, GEMMULES. Okay, that every cell, all right, in our body, okay, or in the body of an individual produces tiny particles known as as gemmules. Okay, and that during reproduction, these gemmules, they will travel through the bloodstream to the reproductive part. Okay, and then they will blend to now give the offspring. Okay, so that was the idea then. All right, but then it was completely discarded. So it was saying that every cell, okay, should I write it down? There's no need to write it down. That every cell in the body produces tiny particles known as gemmules. Gemmules, GEMMULES, and that during reproduction, these gemmules will travel through the bloodstream, okay, to the reproductive part. Okay, that means some of the gemmules will come from from the father. The other gemmules will come from the mother. Okay, and then they will blend, and then they will now form the offspring. Okay, so this was completely taken away. It was completely discarded. During that time, it was also said that natural selection, okay, is survival of the fittest. Okay, now during that time, this was not given by Darwin. Okay, so please do not what confuses. So during that time, okay, natural selection was known as survival of the fittest. No, survival of the fittest is now, okay, where organisms try to compete for the resources in the environment. Okay, so this word survival of the fittest is not attributed to Charles Darwin. Okay, it was attributed to a man known as Herbert Spencer. Okay, please, it was Herbert Spencer that introduced the word. Okay, so please take note of this. All right, so okay, so during that time it was said that natural selection is survival of the fittest. Okay, it was attributed. Okay, it was coined by Herbert Spencer. He was a British philosopher. Okay, he was a British philosopher and sociologist. Okay, Herbert Spencer was a British philosopher. Okay, a British philosopher, okay, and sociologist. Okay, so it was one that coined that term, survival of the fittest. He also said that the accumulation of variation, okay, over a long period of time. About Spencer, accumulation of variation over a long period of time, okay, said that it results in in the formation of new species. Okay, all right. So this was also what one of the things said by Herbert Spencer. Okay, that accumulation of variation over a long period of time, okay, leads to the formation of new species. So there were so many things that what Darwin said that were wrong. Okay, but of course they were corrected in what, in the new Darwinism. Okay, all right. So we also have a new Darwinism. But then now let us look at the modern synthetic theory. I've looked at Lamarckism. I looked at Darwinism. So now let us look at the modern synthetic theory. Now, the thing about modern synthetic theory of evolution is that even up till now, okay, all right, new things are being added. So there's no one name attached to what? To the modern synthetic theory. Modern synthetic theory of evolution. All right, so now the modern synthetic theory. I know I wrote was supposed to talk about mutation theory. Okay, we have not spoken about mutation theory yet. Okay, mutation theory was given by Hugo de Vries. Okay, so we'll talk about mutation theory in a moment. Okay, let us quickly run through the modern synthetic theory. So the modern synthetic theory of evolution is also called the neo-Darwinism theory. Okay, neo-Darwinism theory. Okay, so what this modern theory of evolution, like I said, but even up to today, new things are being added. All right, okay, so you see what new names every day coming up. Okay, because a lot of people are going studying genetics. Okay, and they're making new confirmation. They're making having new eureka. All right, so every day, okay, new things what are being added to the modern theory of what? Of evolution. It's also called the neo-Darwinism. So the modern theory combines the work of Darwin's theory of what? Natural selection. Okay, and also combines the work of the Mendel's law of inheritance. Okay, as well as what? As modern genetics, as well as modern genetics. Okay, so this is what the modern synthetic theory is what it's about. Okay, it combines the work of Darwin, Mendel's law of inheritance, and modern genetics together. It explains how evolution happens. Okay, now that we have knowledge of DNA, okay, we have knowledge of mutation, we have knowledge of of genetics. Okay, we have knowledge of general biology. Okay, so it explains how evolution happens using the knowledge from all of these. The modern synthetic theory talks about general variation, talks about genetics. Okay, talks about genetics variation, talks about natural selection, talks about reproductive isolation and speciation. Okay, it also talks about adaptation. All right, so these are most of the things that are covered in the modern synthetic theory. Talk about genetics variation, natural selection, reproductive isolation and speciation. Okay, adaptation and the like. Okay, and you'll be hearing new names. Okay, so many names that has to do with modern synthetic theory. Definitely, you hear about Darwin, you hear about Mendel, okay? You hear about Huxley, okay? You hear about Haldane, okay? Haldane, you hear about Fisher, you hear about Wright, okay? W-R-I-G-H-T, okay? So all of these names, all right, are come along to the modern synthetic theory. Okay, so that's that for that. Let us quickly now talk about the mutation theory by Hugo de Vries. Mutation theory. When you hear mutation theory, that's Hugo de Vries. Please, I want to beg you, I'm kneeling down, all right? Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share the link of this video to your friends and loved ones. Download the O3 Schools app and pass your exam at once. You know one pass once, okay? You should not be thinking about writing JAMB twice. So, okay, please pass your exam at once, all right? Please get the application and get it working. Okay, so mutation theory now. Mutation Theory. Okay, this one by what? By Hugo de Vries. Okay, so so mutation theory was given by Hugo de Vries. So mutation talks about certain changes in DNA. Okay, mutation talks about what? Certain changes in DNA. You know your DNA now. Your DNA is what? A very long helical structure. Okay, all right. All right. So this is how your DNA is. Okay. Let's say, for example, it's like this, the sequence. Okay. It's like this. Okay. Let's say 4 like this. Okay. Let me say it's supposed to be like this, for example. Okay. It's supposed to be like this. All right. But now, this is the normal one, the normal gene. Okay. Normal DNA. All right. So let us now say what there are some changes. For example, instead of it to be like this now, you now have something like this, you have something like this, you have something like this, you now have something like this. Okay. You have something like this, you have something like this. You now have something like this, you now have something, it's not full. Okay, so certain changes in DNA, okay, is what we know as what? As mutation. Hugo de Vries was the head of botanical garden. Okay, he was the head of what? Of botanical garden in Amsterdam. All right, he was the head of what? Of botanical garden in what? In Amsterdam. He studied what? Many what? Wild and domestic what? Plants and organisms. Okay, he studied wild and domestic what? Organisms. All right, so plants and what? And animals and the likes. Hugo de Vries experimented and grew a plant known as what? Onotera Lamarckiana, all right, known as what? The evening primus. Okay, so Hugo de Vries what? Experimented what? And planted what? This plant called what? The evening primus. Okay, botanical name is Onotera Lamarckiana. So what did he do? Okay, he self-pollinated what? This plant. Okay, he self-pollinated it. Pollinated what? This what? Plant. Okay, and then what? He made them what? The parent again, and what kept on what? Self-pollinating it. Okay, for many generations, and then what? It discovered there are several variants. Okay, he discovered what? Some other type of what? Of variants. Then what did he do? Is he also was self-isolated what? This variant, okay? And also he discovered some other new variants also. And it was on the basis of this that he gave the mutation theory that we're talking about today, okay? So he experimented and grew the evening primus known as the Onotera Lamarckiana, all right? He self-pollinated what? The plants, okay? And then what? After what? The F1 came, he made them parents again, self-pollinated them again for successive generations, all right? He discovered what? Some variants, okay? When he discovered some variant, he what? Self-pollinated with those variants again, and even more variants was what were produced. And it was on the basis of this that what? He now what? Developed what? The mutation theory. He said that mutation are large differences that are arising suddenly in a population, okay? Hugo de Vries said mutation are large differences arising in a population. All right. So that was what Hugo de Vries said. He said there are large differences arising suddenly. Okay, please, arising suddenly. Suddenly. All right. In a population. And some of these mutations, as you rightly know, some will be good, some will be bad. Okay. So he selected the good ones. All right. And what? Got rid of what? Or the what? Of the bad ones, okay? But what? Some of these useless mutants see what existed what in the population still. And then he believed that it is mutation that causes evolution. According to him, it is mutation that causes evolution, okay? And not the minor variations, okay? And not the minor variations, okay? So according to him, he said that mutation is what causes evolution and not those minor slight genetic differences that you are seeing. He said that mutation what occurs in all organisms, okay, from protozoans to primates. Okay, he said what mutation what happens in all organisms. He said that mutations are random and directionless. Okay, unlike Darwin's continuous variation, say that mutations are what they are random and what they are directionless. Okay, like I said, all right, there are some good mutations, there are some bad ones. Okay, take the good one, leave the bad ones. The bad ones will still persist in the population. Okay, so this was all what the findings of Hugo de Vries. Okay, but one of the major banger here is that mutation is what causes evolution and not the minor variations. He said that mutants can be drastically different from the parents. Okay, so that is that about that. So now let us quickly look at another quick term, which is what saltation. Okay, we are coming to the end of this episode. All right, so in the next class we will continue evolution, to the last part of evolution. All right, and then possibly we may answer questions in that last part, or we will dedicate another episode for answering questions on evolution alone. Okay, so anyone that works for us, we're going to do depending on how long the video has become. All right, so let's talk about saltation. So saltation in evolution talks about it's a sudden large change. Okay, all right, it's also known as what as mutation theory. Okay, so it's a sudden large change, okay, in an organism that leads to the formation of a new species. Sudden large change in an organism that leads to the formation of a new species. Okay, so that's what we know as saltation. So it is not gradual at all. Okay, it happens once. Okay, a sudden large change. Okay, so that's what we know as saltation. And examples of saltations include, for example, plant example. Have a plant example like the Onothera Lamarckiana. Okay, it's an example. They also have an acorn sheep. Okay, acorn sheep. Okay, it's a sheep that is born with a short deformed leg. Okay, so it was now found that the sheep is unable to jump fence. Okay, born with short deformed legs. Okay, and was unable to jump fences. Okay, it's called, that's an acorn or sheep. It now became a new species of sheep. Okay, they also have for viruses. For example, viruses can change. Okay, a large change in the viruses can lead to different variants, just like the way COVID-19 came, like the COVID-19 variants. Okay, so that is another example. Okay, so that's where we're going to end today. Thank you for joining us. We are glad you joined. All right, please ensure you download the O3 Schools app, activate. All right, tell your friends about the app. Like the video, subscribe, share to your friends and loved ones. Let everyone come and learn. It's all free. Okay, we heard that somebody is paying collecting 10,000 naira for this classes. It's free. Oh, I wish you all the best. I'll see you in the next.